COVID and all those kind of wonderful things. So we've got a really excellent agenda, and we just appreciation to Callie for dogging everything and organizing it for us and helping us. And we'll have some good reports and have a good time this afternoon. The first requirement before we do the minutes is that Callie has had me to read this. It's called the determination statement. And I'm going to read that. Is that right, Callie? You want me to read that? We all signed this disclosure. Has everyone signed that? Yeah. I mean, we've all done it. Yeah. So it just says Utah is currently dealing with the COVID-19, which has been determined to be a pandemic. COVID-19 is extremely contagious, can be deadly to those who contract it, especially those of advanced stage and underlying health conditions. The agency offices are in Salt Lake County, which is currently in the moderate level of transmission category. It is encouraged to use video conferencing or teleconferencing for meetings and gatherings. The vast majority of agency staff and the members of the board commission are teleworking to avoid unnecessary contact with others. The board commission room is insufficient to allow social distancing and reasonably safe accommodation of the commission and the public. The commission uses an electronic platform which allows interested parties to view the meeting, hear discussions, and provide written comment. Does that satisfy it? Agriculture department people, that satisfies it. Wonderful, thanks. Okay, great. I was hearing today, I hope you've all stayed healthy. I was hearing last night, was it Senator Davis and Representative Collar, only 25% of Utahns have been vaccinated. Is that right? It's like,
and they say that it may be hitting the wall.
Yeah. Yeah, we've had this amazing process. I know some of you have heard about it in Davis County, where you drive through the rodeo arena, don't even get out of your car, throw your arm out the window, bang, you're out of there in 5 minutes. And Gina's having a technical problem, Callie. And then you're on your way. And a friend just up the street was telling me they had their 16-year-old daughter vaccinated yesterday afternoon. There was no one there. There was hardly anyone there getting vaccinated. Like, wow. You know that. You know the Legacy Center, Jack. You've been out.
We got to get it 70% just to get that herd immunity.
I know. Well, let's listen. Everybody's busy people. Let's jump in with the agenda here. The last time we met was, it was before the legislature. Was it in October, Callie? It was in October. And so she has sent out the minutes. So, we want to first do the roll call. How do we do that, Callie?
I will go through.
You will do the roll call. Thank you. And then I'll call for you. You do the roll call first, please. Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm just going to go down the list and just pipe in and say if you're here. This is a good check, too, to check your sound. Gina, I was just messaging you.
No, I fixed it. Yeah.
Perfect. Yay, perfect. Okay, so if you're having any issues, if I call your name and I don't give you a thumbs up that we hear you, then just send a message in the chat. We'll make sure that you guys can chat. This is a meeting that definitely encourages discussion, so we want to make sure that everybody can join in. So from the top, we have Amber Brown. Cool. And Bjorn Carlson.
I'm here, sorry.
Okay, perfect. Bjorn Carlson.
Here.
Awesome. And Brian Emerson.
I'm here.
And Cassie Kinnaird.
I'm here.
Oh, and also I just wanted to mention with Cassie, she's actually sitting in the same room as me, but Cassie is our newest UDAF staff member in the marketing department, and you guys are going to see her more often because she's helping me with local food advisory council. So Cassie is another UDAF person, so we're happy to have her here. Representative Collard.
Here.
Dane Hoffman.
Here.
Dave Evans. See.
I'm here.
Oh, perfect. Thanks, Dave. Garrick Hall.
I'm here.
Thank you. Thanks for joining too, Garrick.
Hi, Garrick.
You bet.
And Gina Cornea.
Here.
Perfect. Hannah Martin.
I'm here.
Jack Wilbur.
Just couldn't hit my unmute button, but I'm here.
Perfect. James Hunter.
I'm here.
Perfect. Janae Duncan.
Here.
Great, and welcome, Janae. We'll get to hear more from you in a little bit. So,
Great.
and Jordan Riley.
I am here.
Awesome. And Catherine. Perfect. I saw your arm. So, perfect. Kelly Pearson.
I'm here.
And just to note for the recording, he's going to be representing Commissioner Butters as a voting member today. So he's going to vote on behalf of Commissioner. Linda Gilmore. And Kelsey Hall. Sorry, Kelsey. Passed over.
Here.
Perfect. Natalie Lutz.
Here.
Paige Ray.
I'm here.
Perfect. Reagan Emmons.
I'm here.
Ruby Ward.
Here.
Representative Handy.
Present.
Cimbria Patterson.
Here.
Senator Davis.
Here.
And Kate Wheeler.
I'm here.
Perfect. Okay, we're all good.
All right, I will call then for welcome everyone to speak with Gene Davis, with Senator Davis and Jack Wilbur. We have sure come a long way, and Kelsey, we've sure come a long way, haven't we? We really, really have with this. We really have, and hope that we're doing something important, and that we're making a difference with the time that we're spending, the staff efforts that are going into this, that we're making a difference in accomplishment of our mission. So we have the minutes that Kelsey sent out. What we need is a motion
So
to
moved.
approve the minutes. So moved. Any discussion to that? We don't call for seconds in the legislature, but I guess a second is in order. A second.
I'll second. This is
Thank you.
Gina.
Gina, thank you, Gina.
And then I
So,
just need a roll call vote on that
we
one.
need a roll.
Handy.
So you're going to call the roll call, Callie. You're
Yep.
up.
So I'm going to call through who I have listed in attendance. If you're a voting member and I don't call you and I haven't seen you, just make sure to pipe up after I go through the list. So Kelsey Hall.
I approve.
Representative Collard.
Yay.
Senator Davis.
Yay.
Kelly Pearson.
Yay.
Bjorn Carlson.
Here.
Jack Wilbur.
Yay.
Gina Cornea.
Yep.
Jordan Riley.
Looks good.
And Janae Duncan.
Yay.
We good to go? Okay.
Yeah, we're good.
I'm a yes too. So listen, let me just say this, that those of you who are new, I'm going to just take 2 minutes here, but where did the Utah Local Food Advisory Council come from? It came from, I had gone on a trip, an agricultural trip with the National Council of State Legislatures back to North Carolina, and I was serving on the Natural Resources Committee, and we were having all these bills come through, like Cimbria's bills, right? And we were having all these bills come through, and we're trying to understand the local food movement. And so when I was in North Carolina, we went to North Carolina State, and the professor there taught us about, those who were there, the delegation, about the North Carolina Local Food Advisory Council. There was someone there from Kansas who said, we're doing that too. So I thought this is a pretty dang good idea to understand this a lot better and work on this outside of the pressures of the legislative session, where you don't have time to take a deep dive on things. And so I came back and I went to talk to Commissioner Adams at the time. That's 4 commissioners ago. Commissioner Adams at the time. And I said, is this a good idea? And she said, this is a really good idea. We'll, we can't get really behind the bill, but we'll help you with it. So we did the bill. I enlisted Senator Davis to help me, my friend, and we got it established. And so we've been going for now, I think, are we coming on, Jack, three years? This is our 3rd year, I think. The bill calls for 5 years. And so we will have to see where we go here in another year or so. So we've made a lot of progress, I think, breaking this down, and we've had the great help from Kelsey, from Dr. Hall, from Ruby Ward, Dr. Ward. They've been a tremendous help. Jack Wilbur and I got in the car after the legislation was passed, and he was assigned to be our staff member before his retirement for a couple of years. And so he and I got in the car and drove to Logan and said, what's a local food advisory council, Kelsey, and how do we put this thing together? And so she was really, really helpful. And so here we are this time. We had Representative Marie, what's Marie's last name? Paulson, thank you, on with the other representative. And so you've been appointed Representative Collard in her place, and it's really terrific. I think that you'll really enjoy this. We meet only quarterly. It's broken down into these working groups that we established. We'll have some reports on those going forward. So, Senator Davis, anything you want to add? I think it'd be appropriate. He did a great thing, and he's going to talk about it, helping us get the appropriation for the food hub that we've been working on for about 3 years. But
Right.
anything to add?
I just want to compliment the group itself in a whole, because we've come up with so many great ideas and ways to further the growth of local farming and small farming, if you will, in the state of Utah. And I think that's so important, your input into what we're doing, and not a top-down, here's what we want you to do. It's so important, the discussions that we've had, because we've come up with some great ideas to move forward the local food in the state of Utah.
Thanks very, very much. Yeah, thanks very much. The next agenda items, and we'll have an all opportunity. We're going to get down here to down here to item number 5, and we're going to have just a brainstorming roundtable. If you can stick with us, hopefully we will get there quickly, just to talk about where we want to go from here. Look at our successes, and look where we want to go forward. And so we want to have now just an introduction. We don't need we hear from Commissioner Butters. He's not here, but Deputy Commissioner Pearson, do you want to say anything, Kelly, to us?
I just want to take the time to, on the food hub, that was exciting to get that. But I also want to thank Representative Handy for all he did for the Department of Ag this legislative season. I know it wasn't easy, and you had to fight a lot of battles for us. And I just, from the department, we appreciate both of you guys and what you did for us this session.
Well, you're very welcome. Amber and I have the scars to prove it. She's going to talk about that. And Janae Duncan, please, from the Department of Health. There you are, Janae.
Yeah, I'm very happy to be with you. Thanks for having me. So I'm replacing Heather Borski on the committee. She became our deputy director. She'll definitely still be in the loop and is still really supportive of this work, but needed to move on to other assignments. So I replaced her as our division director, and I'm really excited to be part of this group. I've been working in chronic disease and on social determinants of health work for a long time, and I think this really connects, and great to hear about how we can get more local food and local healthy food and address food insecurity as well. So excited to be part of the group.
Yeah, terrific. We're going to hear a report here from Natalie in a minute about the double up food bucks and see how that's going. So terrific. And so Representative Claire Collard is new to the legislature, elected last November. She's got one session under her belt. She served on the committee with me, and we got to be friends and work together. And so, Representative Collard, Claire, tell us about you.
Hey, thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. I'm very, very excited to be part of this. I really didn't know much about the Food Advisory Council at all until I was appointed to replace Representative Paulson. And it really is an honor to be here. I'm thrilled. I'm looking forward to getting to know all of you and understanding the tremendously important work that you're doing. And hopefully I can help with that. I have been married to my husband for almost 35 years. We have 2 grown sons. My district is along the west side of the Salt Lake Valley, so it is Magna and part of West Valley and part of Copperton. So it runs along the side of the Oakers. And I've lived here in this district for 30 years, raised my family here. My husband was born and raised here, and I'm just thrilled to be part of the legislature and to represent my constituents. I replaced Representative Sue Duckworth, who had been a longtime legislator, and Sue is a very dear friend of mine, and I have worked with her over the years. So I'm just thrilled to be here.
We welcome you, all of you. Thank you very much. You'll bring a very important, great perspective to the efforts of what we're doing, and we'll get you assigned, Representative Collard, to one of these working groups where you have some interest, and they meet every other month or so, and just to kind of focus some things, and we'll get some reports. So the next thing we have here is we're going to talk about the Utah produce incentives, which we call Double Up Food Bucks. And for those of you who don't know, kind of after the second year, Jack, that we got, and help me with this, you and Senator Davis, we got the idea to go to the Legislative Appropriations Committee, Natural Resources, and pitch this. It was a $400,000 ongoing appropriation, and it took us a while to get it done, but we did get it done. Did we get it done in the first year, or did we have to wait for the next year?
We did get it in the first year, and I think it's noteworthy because those of you in the legislature may know if this is more common, but I don't think it's very common to ask for one-time funding and then get ongoing funding, and that's exactly what happened with this. We actually asked for it as one time.
Yeah. It really caught fire into what it is, and some of you don't know what this really is, and that's okay, because we're going to have Natalie explain to us what it is, and then you can ask her questions. So Natalie, are you ready?
I'm ready. Thanks, Representative Murphy.
Yeah.
So for those of you who don't know what the Double Up Food Bucks program is, I can just really briefly go over it. It's a produce incentive program specifically for SNAP recipients. So currently it's operating in our farmers markets, farm stands, and CSAs in Utah. So anyone who is a current SNAP recipient can go to a participating location and spend some of their SNAP money, and they can receive a matching amount in Double Up Food Bucks to spend on fresh produce. So we currently have a $30 maximum on that. It's kind of increased every year that we've been, or at least the last couple of years. We started with a $10 maximum match, and then 20, and last year was 30. And this year we're sticking with the $30. So just some updates on where we're at. I know Hannah did a great job at our last meeting, really going over kind of what came out of our 2020 summer season. But just to refresh you, we did really great despite all the uncertainty around farmers markets opening and COVID, and having a couple of markets choose not to open. We actually ended up doing around $110,000 in redemption of Double Up Food Bucks, which was significantly more than we had done in the past. And so that was really exciting. We saw a lot of need in the community for the program to exist for SNAP and Double Up. We also were taking match on the pandemic EBT, so we were able to meet that need for those additional folks that were receiving benefits as well. And this year we are looking at hopefully our strongest season yet. So last year we had we ended up with 20 different sites. This year we have 31 that are signed up to be moving forward, and that includes 4 new farmers markets, 3 new farm stands, and then we're adding CSA for the first time, so community supported agriculture, where members of the CSA pay ahead of time to receive produce boxes throughout the summer. So we've worked hard with Kelsey and her team with the FMPP, the Farmers Market Promotion Program team, to get CSAs signed up and be able to accept SNAP and accept Double Up food bucks this year. So we're really excited about that and hoping that we can expand that part of the program in future years. So that would, I guess, just to think about it, that would mean that since 2019, so in the last 2 years, we'll have added 16 new direct market sites across the state to accept SNAP and Double Up food bucks, which is really impressive. I think that everyone who's done all the outreach and working directly with markets to expose them to SNAP and explain how to sign up for SNAP and all the technical assistance that's come with Reagan and her team and the USU has been awesome. So this season with that expansion, we'll be in 3 new counties in the state. So we'll be in 13 counties, which is great. And like I said, we're maintaining that $30 maximum match that we increased last summer. So let's see what else. I guess this year we're anticipating around 130, and that's more of a conservative estimate in Double Up redemption, which is really exciting. And we have also been able this spring to support markets that are new to accepting SNAP and Double Up with grants for equipment, and we've also provided capacity grants for all of the sites that are, if they needed it, all of the sites that are implementing the program. So that would be, we'll have spent out about $60,000 in capacity grant funds to support farmers markets and implementing these programs. And then we're also working with Urban Food Connections of Utah to distribute about $45,000 in funds to fruit and vegetable growers that are selling to these markets so that they can increase the variety of vegetables they're selling, produce more, and meet the needs of the SNAP and Double Up customers. So yeah, we're on track to spend out our FY 2021 budget, including the rollover that was from last year, and we're really excited for a great season. So anyone have any questions?
Yeah, there are some. Senator Davis, go ahead and unmute and ask, and then Janae, you next. You're on deck.
Thank you. How many farmers markets are we into now? I know it's in 13. We're going to be in 13 counties, but
Yep,
that's
31.
how many different markets?
So for farmers markets specifically, we'll be looking at 25 this year. And then we also have 4 CSAs and 4 farm stands.
So 31 total.
31 sites total, yep.
Wonderful, thank you.
Pretty cool.
Hey, Natalie, I'd like to get the Fruit Highway set up with all of the vendors along there that are taking credit cards currently. One question on that, is it, we've talked about getting together, pooling some funds and sending out flyers to the house. Is it possible, is it public knowledge, the households that receive EBT?
No, that is not public knowledge. We do direct mailing to those households, but we go through DWS, and so they take care of that. We never see the actual households that they're going to, but we can work with DWS to do some direct outreach. So Jordan, I'd be happy to connect with you offline.
Yeah, please do, because I think there's a handful of us on the highway that will get accepted, and we'd like to put it out there so that it's known and we can get more of that
Great.
customer base coming our way.
Yeah, feel free to reach out to me and we can chat.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll send you an email. Thank you.
Probably if we could get some posters made for those markets that say SNAP accepted here or something to that effect, that we could help that, and we could increase as people drive by, that they know that if they're on SNAP, they can stop in, they can pull in and get fresh produce.
Yep, and we're just finalizing our marketing materials, and we're working really closely with Kelsey's team and the farmers market in Reagan and the farmers market promotion team to collaborate on SNAP and Double Up marketing. So yeah, we can definitely work with you and those folks, Jordan, if you talk to us. I can
Yeah,
reach out.
this is really important for Jordan. Janae, go ahead and unmute and
Yeah.
speak to
So
us.
I
Janae,
just
looks
wanted
like you're
to.
frozen up there.
Oh, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Sorry
Yeah.
about that. Okay, great. Yeah, I just wanted to thank
Community
Natalie and
that you're serving.
yeah, I just wanted to thank Natalie and Hannah and Brad for their great work. And I wanted to just bring some awareness about the funding. So we had an issue in this last legislative session because of how the funding is appropriated. It goes to the Department of Health. And so it's reviewed by Health and Human Services Committee. And they actually wanted to put it on the chopping block because of some underspending. So I know it came from a different committee. And so I just wanted to make sure that you were all aware of that. This funding is very important to us at Department of Health. We want to make sure it's secure. It sounds like we're on track to spend, so that may not be an issue, but just so you're aware of what's happening in that other committee, I was worried about that and that risk to these funds as they're kind of thrown into Health and Human Services and all that that entails and all of the funding needs there. So that may be something to think about if there are future issues, maybe even allocating those funds to Ag, and then Ag can give it to Department of Health to administer. Just wanted the group to be aware of that kind of issue because we would hate to jeopardize those funds in any way.
Yeah, thanks, Janae.
Well, that's the first I've heard of that, and that is really concerning. And you know,
You froze up on us there, my friend. Representative Handy, you froze up. You're.
Yeah, I'm back now. I'll just say that we didn't know about this, and next time we're going to be able to have a heads up on this. But maybe we need to get this back into Ag or something. We need to work on that, Gene.
And we're happy to coordinate with you on that. I wanted you to be aware.
Thanks. Didn't know about it, Janae.
One of the things we may want to do in Ag and Natural Resources Appropriations Subcommittee interim is raise that issue and write a letter to the Health Department and Human Services and let them know that this is a priority to make sure that it's working correctly. And if they don't want to deal with it, we would accept it in agriculture. I believe.
Well,
I don't want to speak for Ag. Kelly, probably you're the person that should speak on whether you want that money or not. But I think it's
and I should say it is definitely a priority for Department of Health. It was the legislators on Health and Human Services that were putting it at risk. So that's just to be clear. We're happy to continue to support this program and want to do all that we can to use those funds appropriately. So
we probably need to send one to that standing committee or appropriation subcommittee, explaining the fact that it's a very important nutritional program for the state of Utah that came out of that the money's there.
Yeah, that would be really helpful.
Yeah, Callie, would you flag that and come back to myself and Senator Davis, and we'll get to work on that. Gina, before, and I was freezing up myself, internet problems. Gina, do you have any perspective about Double Up Food Bucks?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the beginning of the pandemic, Utah was one of only a handful of states that had a reduction in our SNAP caseload, which was primarily due to the fact that a lot of folks were getting the $600 a week in federal unemployment. So we have a lot of working families who also receive SNAP, and so Double Up Food Bucks is a really important resource for those folks to have access to fresh fruits and vegetables. And we are just now sort of recovered from that drop in our SNAP caseload, and we're starting to see that caseload swing up. So I would anticipate that, as Natalie suggested, that we'll probably have our best year yet. And it's really exciting to see this program continue to grow. It's a really incentivizing folks, giving folks the amount of benefits that they need to purchase the food that they want is really important. Then I would also just add, and Natalie, let me know if you've changed this, but families with kids who miss school because of COVID are eligible for a pandemic EBT payment. And those benefits are eligible to be used at farmers markets as well. So for those folks, those households who are in reduced price meals who aren't eligible for SNAP will be able to use those PEBT benefits at farmers markets this summer. And that program is authorized through the end of September.
Yep, that's right, Gina. That's PEBT is also eligible for match. It's treated just like regular EBT. So we're excited to be able to serve those families that wouldn't normally be eligible for Double Up.
Can we, is there somehow we can get that word to the workforce services that children are available and we need to do that? Is there a way to do that to make sure it's
DWS is who issues pandemic EBT benefits, and they historically have put a link for Double Up food bucks on their website, a link to Utahns Against Hunger's website that shows all of the markets that accept Double Up food bucks or accept SNAP. So they are a critical partner in the outreach piece of this.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'll say that if anyone would like marketing materials like posters or little tear-off sheets that have all of the market locations, we are currently ordering those coming up probably in the next week or so. So if anyone would like those to disseminate among your community members or whoever you work with, if appropriate, let me know. You can email me and we can make sure we get you some.
That's terrific. Jack, go ahead and unmute and let's hear from you.
Just really quickly, Representative Handy, I benefit, personally, our farm, about, 5 to 10% of our farmers market income any given week comes from SNAP and Double Up, and a lot of those are Double Up. Everything I sell is eligible for that. But anyway, I guess my thought was if Senator Davis is thinking about, maybe letters or something to the Health and Human Services Committee, maybe we ask the farmers markets to send out a request to those produce vendors that are at their markets to sign on to this as well. And I think with farmers, you've got to give us like a little form letter or something that we can almost just fill in our name and sign or something. A lot of us don't have time or want to do paperwork that much, but I honestly think that a lot of farmers benefit from this, and it would be great if some farmers were signed on to a letter like that.
Yes.
That's all. Thanks.
Yes. Well said. Well thought. All right. I don't. Anyone else want to comment on this? I wanted to mention to Garrick Hall, who's here. Garrick will be our new representative from the Utah Farm Bureau. And so, Garrick, I want you to understand how important this is to your membership. And also, we have a number of small producers here, Jordan and Bjorn and others who are here on our advisory council, who this is just critical for them to expand their market. So there's so many good things that have come out of this. It's really one of the great accomplishments of the local food advisory council, for sure. We can all be very, very proud of this.
I'd just like to add, Garrick, that we work with Julia at the Farm Bureau, and she's terrific. She's just been really committed to making SNAP work, and hopefully Utahns Against Hunger will be funding her to do the equipment at the South Jordan market. And that's an area that has just really been underrepresented in terms of markets that take EBT. So she's great. She's been really great to work with the last few years.
I know Julie has been really excited about this program and trying to get it to work through our markets that we sponsored. And so we're absolutely supportive of this. I think it's a great program.
Thank you, Garrett. Okay, I think that's it. Anyone else on this topic? We'll then move now to the work group updates. And Callie, you're going to lead us through this. You take us a brief report here on the ag land preservation. You had a pretty exciting meeting recently. But anyway, tell us what you'd like to tell us.
Yeah, Bjorn, is there anything you wanted to add? I was just going to summarize kind of what we talked about last week.
I would just encourage you to go ahead. I apologize, I came late to that meeting. So any help would be appreciated.
No, you're good. So Bjorn and I had a chat after the meeting to kind of summarize what our goals are moving forward. There are a couple of items that I won't talk about right now just because they're follow-up items that my director is going to follow up on, and so if we have updates, we'll give you those. But basically, after talking with the group, we realized that there are two areas of ag land preservation that maybe we didn't consider one before. So we always think of ag land preservation as, rural ag land, which of course it is. But Ashley Patterson from the Wasatch Community Gardens brought up a really good point that ag land preservation is important to the urban communities as well. So we don't have a lot of follow-up on that other than, Ashley brought up that for urban farmers, half an acre is just as important to them as a 500-acre, farm or ranch out in rural Utah. So now that we have this narrative and this framework moving forward, we're excited. Bjorn and I are excited to explore what the urban side of ag land preservation looks like, as we really haven't quite yet. And then, of course, with the rural side, most of our discussions just center on how to increase awareness of conservation easements and greenbelt funding and Leroy McAllister and things like that. So we've been talking a little bit about ways to spread that information out. So if you guys have any insight or if you want to join ag land preservation, we'd really love to get another member from the urban gardening community or urban ag community to talk a little bit more about what the needs are there and identify some ways maybe we could support those communities. So just send me an email if you're interested in those groups. We've got a lot of good people, a lot of people here who are on that group, and it'd be really good to have more representation. Bjorn, is there anything else you wanted to add, or does that sound good?
I think that was excellent. Thank you, Callie.
Yeah, you bet.
I think if I might, Mr. Chairman, I think the one thing as we look at that and urban, there's a movement within the cities right now to do away with a lot of these deep backyards or these old forest farms, as they were called, or orchard farms. And we need to do something in that area to make sure that we don't rob all of this agricultural land that is in highly urban areas and put it into housing necessarily. Not that we don't have a critical need for housing, but we also have a critical need for agricultural land to remain.
Excellent. Great point.
Can I just add one more thing, Representative?
Please,
one thing that we did come up with was there is two different areas of ag land, and we need to work together instead of fight amongst each other. That it's not one more important than the other, but if we work together, we're working for the same goal here.
And I think that's what we've set ourselves up for. This advisory was really to bring everybody together and talk about ag land and ag preservation in the state of Utah, so we continue to be able to
Correct.
feed the people of the state of Utah.
Terrific. Thanks, everyone. Callie, we're ready to go on to, you ready for us, Jack and Kelsey? You want to take the next one?
Well, are we up? Okay. So
Yes,
I'm Jack Wilbur again for anyone that joined late. I am chair of the production work group, and most of our time today and most of our efforts recently have been getting our social media presence up and running. And so in about a minute, I'll defer the rest of my time to Kelsey Hall, and she'll give you an update on how we're doing on our Facebook page. But I did want to mention really quickly that we had one issue that we talked about in our last production work group that we're following up on, and that is the issue of co-packing. And for those of you that don't know, co-packers are, they're basically companies who make and package products for others, like other food companies or farms or restaurants, on a contractual basis. And Jordan Riley brought this up to our attention because I think there are some farms that would like to be, work with some co-packers and be able to get some value added to some of their seasonal produce, be able to have it around more year-round. But we know that there are some issues with this whole thing, and a lot of it is just we don't know everything about it. We don't know who all the co-packers are. We don't know all the issues, but we did consult with Dr. Karen Allen up at Utah State University. She's really well versed in this, and she did give me a list that I won't go through now of kind of sticking points that co-packers sometimes have, including their capacity and some of the regulatory issues. But what we would like to do, what I'd like to propose, Representative Handy and Senator Davis, is that our production work group continue to explore this issue over in our next meeting at least, and propose that we either have a open discussion as a standalone line agenda item in our next meeting or in a future meeting, or possibly even a formal presentation, just depending on where we think we are with this. But we could see some need for exploring this a little more and seeing what some of those barriers and benefits are. But we would love to see more farms that want to be able to have some of their produce and other products processed as value-added products. So we'd like to continue to look into that if that works for you folks.
That's great. And it also, I believe, with the funding for the hub, we get that up and going. I think that's where co-packing could really come in handy, is being able to, as we bring all of this produce in together, co-packing would be an integral part of making sure that food's getting out to where it's needed.
That's wonderful. Thank you. So I think with that, I'm going to go ahead and defer the last bit of my time to Kelsey, who's been doing an amazing job with her intern on the social media. Kelsey.
Thank you for letting me join and share with you our Local Food Advisory Council's Facebook page. In our chat, I included a link so that you could follow and like it and check it out. Callie, would you mind if I share our screen and show the
Yeah, you should be able to. Oh, there you go. Perfect.
I don't know if it's showing my second screen, though. It may not. Since I'm doing dual screens right now, I'm not sure that it is. So I'll stop there just because of time. But we have a Local Food Advisory Council page that launched on January 4th, 2021, and we have 136 followers and 118 likes. That to you may seem little, but in just one quarter, that's actually a great success for a Facebook page during COVID-19. We're averaging about 46 different individuals seeing our content every single day that's new. And most of our posts have an engagement rate of somewhere between 1% and 23%. And if you know anything about Facebook algorithms, 1 to 3%, if you can reach that many people successfully, that's actually really a great metric. We have been doing a number of Facebook posts that show images, videos, website, article links, page mentions, and hashtags that highlight agriculture production, food distribution, farmland preservation, and legislation for regulations related to local food issues. Our posts that focus on our imagery have had the best success. And I am going to give credit to our intern, Kimberly McCullen with Utah State University's Agricultural Communication Program. We meet weekly and work on her messaging and the content and the creation of the materials, along with other local food marketing issues that we do as part of USU Extension. We're really excited because some of our best posts have reached over 600 people, and it's been able to share stories about local farms that are using season extension, community-supported agriculture, different farm distribution techniques, food hubs, online stores, farm stores. And so we're seeing really great engagement there. we do have some plans for this year. And some of the things we want to do is address the publication time of our posts. We're noticing most of our followers are checking out our page between 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. So rather than launching during lunch hour, we're going to try for a quarter doing the evenings. We're going to continue doing food distribution and food production content weekly, because that is where we've seen the greatest impact and interest from our followers. We also, Kimberly and I worked on getting some funding to work on a social media marketing plan that we can do some paid advertising to help boost our reach and increase the likelihood of people seeing our Facebook page. So we're targeting more individuals in the state of Utah with our content. If you know anything about organic posts that we create ourselves for paid advertising, Facebook favors paid advertising. And so we want to try some paid advertisements to see if that would not increase how many people can see our page. One big thing is if we could ask you to follow and like our page, even consider sharing, liking, commenting on anything. All of that helps with our engagement. And as you have increased engagement and you have more followers, the Facebook algorithm will push our page onto more news feeds of individuals that have interest in local food and agriculture in our state. And so we will continue to recruit for stories. We try to contact every single month different individuals for ideas. And we're also taking submissions. We do have our calendar set all the way through the end of May. So we're looking for content ideas for June, July, and August. But we have a lot of forthcoming projects that are going to highlight local food this summer too.
Amazing. Questions, comments from anyone?
And Representative Handy, I just wanted to say too that some of our council members have been profiled so far. We're doing profiles of all of the council members, and we're working our way through that. We're just, interspersing those in occasionally, and those have been very popular posts as well. And we really thank those of you that have participated so far. And if you haven't yet, I know that Kelsey or Kimberly will be hitting you up for some information as well.
So my post didn't detract from anything, right?
Absolutely not. It did phenomenal. It had several hundred. And the same with all of our representatives. We've noticed that any of our council members have done very well. I think it's because we're telling a personal story about why we're passionate about local food. And that's something that a lot of consumers want to hear for information. I'm also really excited just to be able to share different farmers' stories. We had posts on brucellosis vaccination in cattle. Thank you to Dave Evans. He provided amazing information to us. We've been able to highlight Mad Snacks Produce in Oakley, Utah, talking about their operation because of how they use high tunnels. So we found ways to share the stories about agriculture through farm production and different farm distribution methods. And that seems to have been the best impact we've had so far, and really good comments from individuals in our inbox or the way that we've seen people share the story. So thank you so much for your support and allowing me the opportunity to serve with Jack and Callie, and for hiring an intern who is passionate about communicating for agriculture and being able to use her social media skills, because I think you've made an intern extremely happy with this project.
Well, we're so grateful to Kimberly and for you being able to have her work on this great project. I just made myself a note because I've been lazy. I'm gonna in there every day. I'm gonna get in there every day now. Okay, thank you. Dr. Ward, Ruby Ward, Innovations and Distribution.
So we haven't done a whole lot on that area. We were kind of waiting to see what happened from the legislative session during our last meeting to see what came out of that. And then after our next meeting, so I'm really kind of looking forward to our presentation from Amber right after this. And then we felt like there was some big things that were around there, but we kind of wanted to hold off until the legislative session to really do much at the committee level.
That's fair. Thanks a lot, Ruby. And Senator Davis will have some things to say about the Food Hub appropriation. He was the Point of the spear. Callie, anything on regulations?
Yeah, before I go, I noticed we just skipped over a statewide community food assessment from Natalie and Brad.
I did. My bad. Thanks. Keep me straight. Let's go back to that.
That's okay. There's not much to report. So let's see, the last time we met was in the fall, and we had a really great sort of brainstorming session with a lot of community partners, including the local food advisory subcommittee, but also a lot of others, and got a lot of really good feedback on what types of things people are interested in including on a food systems assessment. Since then, Brad and I have been doing some internal work to identify other, I guess we really don't want to duplicate any efforts, and we recognize that there's a lot of others out there that are doing sort of smaller scale types of data collection. And so right now we're trying to figure out who those people are, and we've had some conversations and what really makes sense for us to move forward in terms of the scope of a food systems assessment. So that's kind of where we're at right now. I will say that this is the very busy double up season, so it's taking a little bit of a back burner at the moment, but it definitely still is something that we are working on pursuing, and hopefully at our next meeting I'll have a better update for you guys.
Fair enough. Thanks, Natalie. Okay, now you want to do regulations, Callie?
Yeah. Yeah, so really we just, today is really kind of the fruit of that work group. We're excited to have Amber Brown present about some legislation that went through. Really the group just met right following the session just to talk about anything and bring anything to the table. It seemed like everything that the group members wanted to talk about was already on our list to talk about today. So we're going to get to hear a follow-up and some follow-up from the questions we had in the regulations group. So that's it on regulations.
Thanks. We're going to go now to you see A through G, some agriculture-related legislation we thought that would be interesting for you to have a few little highlights. Amber's going to take that. She's the government relations policy analyst at the Department of Agriculture, and she and I worked on the bill that I sponsored, which was HB 375. We'll talk about that in a minute. But let's take the Food Hub appropriation. Senator Davis, do you want to kick us off on that? Congratulations on
Well, I mean, it was a group effort, Representative. I mean, we did work hard together on that.
I worked
to
it.
make
I
this
did
happen.
work it, but you were
And as a group, it's one of the highlights that we had. One of our top things that we wanted to get through was to introduce a food hub into the state of Utah, and we worked very hard on that. We asked for 250,000. We got 125, and change. And I'm looking forward now, and really quite excited to see where we go forward to get the food hub up running, and to start distributing food to the schools and hospitals and restaurants throughout the state. I think it's very, very important, and I think our next step is probably to do some sub-hubs, if you will, in rural parts where we can gather more there and get it to market quicker. So that's kind of where I'm at on that, and I'm interested to see. I think we've got some presentation coming up a little bit later. There's some attendees. I think Lori may be on board with this.
Good.
To talk about that as well. I'm not certain whether she joined us today or not, but Amber, I'm ready, Mr. Chairman, anytime.
Yeah,
Should we take you, Amber, and go through these other things? Okay, go ahead, Amber.
Absolutely. Just on the food hub, thank you so much, Senator Davis. I just want a quick correction. We got 112,500, which is kind of
112,
a random
yeah, right.
Yeah, one
it was
time
half of the 250.
Yeah. I'm not sure how they came up with that one, but I just wanted to, the appropriation says that the funding will support a local food hub startup and development fund. Local food hubs are fresh and processed aggregation and distribution centers that focus on locally grown and produced food. The Utah Food Hub Startup Grant Fund would give one or more food entrepreneurs, profit or nonprofit, farmers or ranchers access to seed funding to use toward the development of a food hub that connects farm fresh food to consumers along the Wasatch Front. Examples of how funding might be used include food manufacturing equipment and cooler or freezer space. An example of a food hub that would provide financial benefit to both farmers and consumers would be one that converts imperfect produce into cut and packaged bags of food for schools, hospitals, or restaurants. And that's kind of what Senator Davis was talking about. Another example might be a group of ranchers purchasing a meat freezer near the meat processing plant in their community so that they have a place to store cuts of meat for direct to consumer sales deliveries. Linda Gilmore and myself and our finance director had a conversation with Senator Davis about this, and we talked about his intentions for this money. And we really would like to get, one food hub up and running to be an example for future food hubs. It's not a lot of funds, but it is something that we can get started with. We want to get produce to people that need it. We want to distribute local food to those schools and hospitals. We want to help level the playing field and democratize the way that farmers are able to get their food to market. And right now, our staff is working on creating an RFP for this Food Hub Startup Grant. This could be geared towards one award, or there's a possibility that this could go towards multiple recipients, just depending on who applies for it. We want businesses to show that they already have property ready to go, that they have, space. They need to show us how they can make an impact on farmers in Utah. And so that's kind of what's going on with that one right now. Any other questions or thoughts about the food hub before I move on?
I think we have Dane Hoffman.
I just want to say, I know I've talked to Garrick. I know that the Farm Bureau, you're working on a food hub too, aren't you, Garrick?
Yes, we are in Ogden, and we hope to be distributing some this summer. I'm not the expert on that, but I know we're well down that road.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I believe we have Dane Hoffman on the.
Go ahead.
To talk about that also.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Senator Davis. I'm representing for Larry Sarin today for SAPA Investment Group and the Foundry Food Hub. So we are in action of actually getting some education out there to the rural communities and to the rural farmers about, what a food hub is, how that type of food system works, because that's kind of where it all starts, right? Is with the educational element of actually getting these farmers online. So we are plans in place of getting some activities done this summer with also putting in for other grants like the Specialty Crop Block Grant and things of that nature. So we are well aware of how to utilize these other programs as well as we can to align these needs for the farming community. So yeah, we're moving some things along, and it's just been awesome work. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dane. All right, let's leave. Are we okay to leave the food hub and go on now that Amber's going to just hit the highlights on the other agriculture-related legislation, just so you know what happened.
Did Cimbria have a hand up? Cimbria, did I see your hand go up on the food hub?
I did, but they answered my questions, so
Okay.
sorry.
Okay.
I didn't see it, Cimbria. Okay, we're ready for Amber. Go ahead.
All right, so we're just going to go through quickly a few other bills that might hit local food and agriculture. The first one is HB 224, Representative Matthews pollinator amendments. This created a 3-year pollinator pilot program that UDAP is going to administer. The program can include education efforts to raise awareness about creating pollinator habitats, and can include pollinator programs run by local governments and nonprofits, and grants to cover up to 25% of the cost of planting pollinator-friendly native flowering plants or seeds for native flowering plants. UDAP can spend up to $60,000 a year, and there was also money appropriated to SUU to help fund the program. The sponsor also talked about the possibility of outside organizations providing grant funding for these pollinator-friendly plants, etc. Our conservation division is going to be administering this. They're working on it right now with Utah State that already does some of these programs, and SUU as well, to determine exactly how the program will operate, how that money will be distributed. Any questions about that one? I don't see anybody. Or sorry, Jack, did you have a question?
Yeah, Jack, take your hand down. It's still showing on your. that you had your hand up. Oh, there
There
we
you
go. We're
go.
quick. All right, Amber.
Thanks, Jack. The next one was SB 130, the regulation of concentrated animal feeding operations from Senator Sandel. What this bill does is require that counties that want to restrict the siting of these concentrated animal feeding operations, or CAFOs, adopt a CAFO land use ordinance by February 1st of next year. It has specific requirements in the bill with regard to that ordinance. It has to designate areas of sufficient size to support CAFOs, establish requirements and procedures for applying for land use decisions that allow CAFOs to operate in those areas, disclose fees. Counties have to consider the distance of the geographic area from public locations, topography, economic benefits for the county, access to transportation and water, power, and other infrastructure. After the county considers these factors, they shall prepare a map that's available to the public to show where CAFOs can be located in each county that adopts these ordinances. Counties can't designate areas for CAFOs based solely on setback distance from public locations, but they have to evaluate all the criteria that are listed in the bill. Counties have to designate at least one area for large CAFOs for all animals listed, unless they can show that they should be exempt due to some various factors. The impact potentially on local food is this: by requiring counties to adopt CAFO ordinances and show where CAFOs can be sited, and requiring them to consider multiple factors and ensure that they have access to infrastructure. This could allow CAFOs to be sited in Utah, to provide more agricultural production. Really, it provides stability to those who want to open up facilities in Utah. And any questions on that one? Okay. The next one I wanted to talk about was SB 147, the confinement of egg-laying hens. That came from Senator Sandel as well. This bill requires that beginning January 1st of 2025, all farm owners and operators in Utah cannot confine egg-laying hens in an enclosure that is not cage-free. And it provides some exemptions to the cage-free requirement, like medical research and state fairs and exhibits. Also, small producers that have fewer than 3,000 hens would be exempt from having to go cage-free. UDAF is going to enforce the requirements. There's also some reporting requirements to us, to the Business and Labor Interim Committee. This bill came from the egg industry, and they wanted to avoid a public referendum on the cage-free issue, because they were concerned that if a public initiative were to happen, even if it didn't pass, the information that was shared in the media could be very damaging to them. And so they negotiated this bill between various groups. This went through the Senate very easily, and it had a little more controversy in the House because some people were concerned about the implications for other industries down the road, but it did eventually pass. The version that passed was a fourth substitute. Originally, this limited retailers and their ability to sell eggs that were not produced in a cage-free facility, but that was taken out. So there's no retailer requirements in this bill. And this, there is this significant cost for the industry to implement these changes, but they're comfortable with it, given that the time frame and the exceptions that are in there. And there's possibly a concern that because there's not a retailer limitation, are they going to be able to is it going to hurt Utah agriculture because they can get eggs from other states that aren't cage-free? We'll just have to see if that happens at all, though I think most states around us are going to be adopting similar requirements. Questions on that one? Don't see any. We're going to get to Representative Handy's favorite bill, HB 375, the Agricultural Amendments Bill. This is one that Representative Handy sponsored. We're so grateful for all his help. It was really intended to be a super easy, non-controversial cleanup bill, but we had some issues that we had to deal with, but we were happy that it got passed, and some important clarifications to the Agriculture Code were made. There's some provisions related to regulation of bedding and upholstered furniture. It adds 5 counties to District 2 for the purpose of determining membership in the Utah Dairy Commission. That structure had been updated in 2020, and some counties were left out, so we put those counties in. It clarifies the definition of a brand or mark in our brand inspection program, and makes a couple of other small changes to brand inspection. Brand inspection was the area that was a little bit troublesome for us, but we took the controversial stuff out, so we'll address that in interim study. And then it also makes some minor changes to the Aquaculture Act. Really, I think the thing it touches local food is possibly the Dairy Commission, because it allows more counties to be represented as voting members of that commission. It would represent more dairy producers as a whole. Any questions?
I just want to say the other thing is I'm seeing Cimbria here. Remember, Amber, in the first part of the bill, there was something that was in rules that was in rules that you wanted to put in statute about small egg producers. Cimbria is a subject expert in this area, reached out to me as a friend, and she said, you know, there are some unintended consequences here. And rather than, because we were getting late in the session, rather than try to navigate that with the bill, the Agriculture Department, Amber and her bosses said, okay, let's take that out. We'll deal with that another time. So that was very helpful, Cimbria. And then the whole thing on brand inspectors, it got, I thought, unnecessarily controversial, but Ag had to get the bill through, and we were able to work around that. And as Amber said, they'll work on some things in the interim with concerned individuals to get that sorted out. So that was good to get that done.
Yep. And we are happy to work with Cimbria on that one issue, and that was no problem to fix, and we can address it in rule. And the next one was HB 163, the Ag Advisory Board amendments from Representative Snyder. What this bill does is changes the membership of the Ag Advisory Board. It makes it more flexible. Sometimes the Ag Advisory Board, because it's such a large board, it requires, I think it's 11 individuals to be present to have a quorum, and sometimes they have trouble getting a quorum to conduct business. So what this did was create an executive committee under the Ag Advisory Board, requires them to meet quarterly, which is what the current board does, and then takes the main board down to twice a year instead of 4 times a year. So then you have this smaller executive committee, and it was given specific things that they can do, and it'll allow them to, the board, to act, you know, a little bit easier because they don't have to have that 11-member quorum. And it also changes some of the eligibility requirements for board membership. It makes them a little less specific. Rather than saying you should have a member from this organization, kind of says you should have a member from this industry. So that may open up membership to those who possibly weren't eligible in the past. Any questions? No? Okay. Next one, HB 166, livestock amendments. This also came from Representative Snyder. What this does, several things related to livestock, and having to do with people who participate in, you know, destruction of livestock or killing or theft of livestock, which has been on the rise in the last year or so. It allows a hearing officer to suspend someone's DWR hunting license and permit privileges if they participate in wanton destruction of livestock. It addresses livestock guardian dogs and puts them into the definition of livestock. And what was, you know, the best part of this for us, for UDAF, was it decreases the value of livestock under which an offense against livestock is considered a Class A or Class B misdemeanor or felony. Anything livestock value between $750 and $5,000 would be considered a 3rd-degree felony, and anything valued over $5,000 would be a 2nd-degree felony. And there were some changes to those amounts throughout the course of, you know, of the life of this bill, but that's where we ended up. And we're hopeful that increasing those penalties or decreasing the value for certain penalties would help, you know, encourage prosecutors to go after these livestock cases. Sometimes they're not able to do that because, you know, it's just not worth it to them. So, and like I said, there has been a huge increase in livestock theft and shootings over the last year. So we hope that this can address some of that.
Yeah.
And then the last one I wanted to talk about was HB 94, the Micro Enterprise Home Kitchen Amendments from Representative Watkins. This bill allows for permitting by local health departments of individuals who produce ready-to-eat food in their home kitchens. It sets a limit on the number of permits that can be issued based on county size, requires that the Department of Health make standards and regulations related to the permitting process and rules about sanitation and equipment maintenance requirements. Oh, the food hub in Ogden. Sorry, I just saw the comment. I think, Garrett, did you want to mention that real quick? I know you were the one I talked about with Farm Bureau.
Well, yeah, I mentioned it earlier. We are moving forward to create a food hub, and that will be located in Ogden. I don't know the exact progress on that, but we're processing some meat there. We hope to include that as vegetables and fruit and, you know, everything else we produce in the state. So we hope to have that up and going by at least by the end of summer, at least at kind of a bare bones start, and then probably take some time to get it fully operational.
Cool. Can I ask where it is?
It's off of the 21st Street exit there on I-15, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. As I say, I could drive you to it a lot easier than I could describe how to get there to it, but it's easily accessible off the freeway. Yeah.
Yeah, that's where it is.
Thank you. Awesome. So going back to this,
Amber, this is Kelly. Sorry to jump in. I have to jump off here in a minute, but I did want to maybe tell this group a little bit about what we applied for with the new COVID money, which is the AARP funds. And with that, we were asked to do building blocks like we do each year. And one of the asks that we asked for was $20 million for food hubs throughout the state. So, and there will be a grant program, hopefully a public-private partnership to get food hubs throughout the state. So look for that, Representative Handy and Senator Davis. That was one of our building blocks. So,
hey, that is amazing,
That's
Kelly.
amazing.
That makes our 112.5 look like peanuts. But hey, this is amazing.
yeah, I mean, honestly, one of the biggest gaps we found during COVID was refrigeration space and all that. So with that 20 million, we're helping food hubs build refrigeration storage. So
Very
get
cool to hear
that,
this.
that little bit of processing that helps to close that gap in the food chain and really make local food more available and help producers throughout the state. So that's, taking that food hub to the next level with that. So we're hopeful about it. So just to go back to this micro enterprise bill real quick, really what it does is the way that it was sold was that, a lot of people like to produce food in their home kitchens and they're selling it already. And what this bill does is allow that to happen legally through a permitting process so that we can make sure that the food is safe. It's really not, Department of Ag isn't really implicated directly because the rules come from the Department of Health, but we wanted to make sure that it was clear that this was ready to eat food because we regulate manufactured food, and they added some clarifications and some substitutes to that bill. It's not cottage food, it's not agritourism, which we did address last year in a bill from Representative Mark Roberts. They put some things about requiring a warning statement on the food and some notification requirements, but hopefully this will allow people to sell the food that they're making, and that helps a lot of people that were displaced, who work in the food industry and were displaced during COVID, and they can share the food that they love to make. So that's everything that I had. Open to comments, questions.
If I might, Steve, I wanted to respond to Catherine Fred Fuller's comment about food hub money in Ogden, and I think that 40 million, if we can get that allocation, that could address that issue right there, and probably take care of the situation of food hubs throughout the state and the smaller food hubs. And I've tried to talk about getting out into smaller communities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm just going to ask Garrick, do you have anything to add on all this legislation? I saw you on the Hill every day. You were tracking all of this. Anything from the Farm Bureau perspective? I mean, you were supporting, working on, helping amend, all of these pieces of legislation.
Correct. We worked, I think, on all these bills at one point or another. Some of them more than others. I got tired of talking about cage-free eggs. That was fairly controversial for us, but I think we ended up in a good spot. No, I think we've had a good summary of the bills. I guess the one other one that I would mention that might be of interest to this group, and I don't remember the bill number, but we expanded the urban farming legislation this year. If you're not familiar with urban farming, the urban farming statute allows a county to take, if there's a parcel that's being used for agriculture that's less than 5 acres, anything over 5 acres can qualify under Greenbelt for a reduced tax rate. But under 5 acres doesn't qualify for Greenbelt. So the urban farming statute allows us to take those parcels that fall between, I think it's 2 to 5 acres, and as long as they meet a production requirement, they can qualify for a similar reduced tax rate. Up till this year, that has only been for produce. We've not allowed livestock to be raised on those smaller parcels. This year, we expanded that to livestock. That may not affect very many farms, but there were some in Wasatch County that were asking for that, and hopefully that'll be an option that some of our smaller farm producers can take advantage of. If you have that 5 acres in the backyard, you want to do something with it, you raise a couple steer calves and sell them in the fall and qualify for that reduced rate. So I think that's a positive bill that was passed as well. Mike Cole ran that out of Wasatch. But
Yeah.
other than that, I think it's been a great review here.
Thank you for bringing that up,
I'd
Eric.
forgotten
That's
that bill. That is
HB
exactly right.
390 is the
Yeah,
one.
yes.
HB 390. This was the Kohler bill. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great bill. Thank you.
That was a great bill. And Callie, that speaks a little bit to the discussion that you guys were in on the ag land preservation.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, and I think
Yes.
Gina has a hand up too. Gina, did you still want to say something?
Go ahead. Help. I can't see it. Go ahead, Gina. Did you have something to add?
Yeah, I just had a follow-up question for Kelly about the funding request you put in. So that request for those funding requests came from executive appropriations, is that right?
So no, this will
No.
be new COVID money that's coming to the state. I think the state's getting $1.5 billion.
Right. Right, but who asked you for that list of projects?
So both the governor's office and the legislative LFAs. So both
okay.
sides. Yep.
And
we'll be meeting
you know-
in a special session come May to
Yeah.
look at that money and how that will be funded.
Yeah, that'll
Yeah,
be on
great.
the 19th of May.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that clarification, Kelly. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, all of just Gina and all of you, I mean, there's a lot of funding coming in, and frankly, there is like, what do we do with all this money? Let's put it to really good use. And of course, we had this huge infrastructure bill that I won't take your time on that we had anyway. And so now comes these additional federal funds, and so the executive branch departments, the legislators have been, what's your wish list? And now it's trying to be pared down into something workable. I think we have until 2024 to expend the funding. I think that's what we were told yesterday in the briefing.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
correct. It's a 3-year cycle of funding.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks, Gina.
Yeah, we have a lot of money to look at, but it's also defined on where it can be spent. It's not
Correct.
just a trough full of money that we can just put any place.
Right.
It's earmarked into certain areas, some of it for agriculture, and it's really trying to get that agricultural dollars that we need into the rural parts of the state and throughout the state to help everybody.
When you take the full federal stimulus coming to the state of Utah, when you take the state money, the county money, the local city money, the education money, and the individual stimulus checks, it's like $8 billion. So
Out
There
of
you
2
go.
trillion that Congress sent out.
yes, yeah, that's right. Yeah. Okay,
And
I think we're at 3:20, and we're going to take 10 or 15 minutes here or so to talk about what you want to talk about, just our roadmap goals for the year. Callie, this would be a good time to tell everyone when the next actual council meeting is. What's that date going to be?
So we are meeting again on June 17th, and it should be on everyone's calendar. More than
Yeah.
likely it will be virtual again. So unless you hear from me, plan on it being virtual. That's Thursday, June 17th.
Yeah, this works really, really, really great. So from anyone, let's take a few minutes. What should we try and accomplish this year? What do we want to have happen? We're doing some really, really great things here. We started with a blank piece of paper a couple years ago, and look where we're going today. So just kind of an open table brainstorming forum, just to kind of what would you like to have happen? We've got to work on these work groups, and we'll work on either narrowing them or fleshing them out with additional things. There's Garrick at Happy Work on the Food Hub, of course, and any thoughts from anyone that we're missing?
Representative Handy, this is Kelly. I have just one thought that we're doing as an agency. So one of the plans for the first, I think 300 days of the governor was to do a strategic plan for UDAF. So we have bid out to work with a firm to do a strategic plan of what the role of UDAF is with the producers, and just kind of set out a 5-10 year plan. So we're doing that as an agency right now. So I just wanted to tell you guys that, and then but I like that. I like your question. What do we want to accomplish? But we're going to put a strategic plan for our agency together and hopefully have it by July.
Excellent.
I think one of the issues that's come up with this committee, and that is with local food, is meat itself and how we get it to market. The slaughter, the processing of meat has been one of those issues that we've discussed within this committee, and how we're going to do that, and how we expand this out. But that's one of those issues that came up.
And Senator Davis, that's a great point. So our first building block that we did request, we did shoot for the moon. We asked for $135 million for ag infrastructure throughout the state, meaning meat processing plants, and wool. I mean, anything to do with ag infrastructure. That was our big ask, and we were told to shoot big, and so we did. So maybe it wasn't big enough, but we asked for everything.
And depending upon the infrastructure money that is also being proposed in Washington, that is not all for roads. That goes for a lot of different economic stimulus in the states to get things going and keep them up.
Yeah.
Has there been any discussion about funds for, as far as ag land preservation, like transfer of development rights, those issues that we as a council talked about in the past?
You know, I think that's a worthwhile consideration.
It is.
From one of our subcommittees. We need to put that into one of the subcommittees and get a formulation of what we want to do in that area and start working in that area. I think. Is that what you're looking for, Jordan, or do you want the whole group to?
I mean, if it's fitting for I think ag land preservation, I think is that you, Bjorn, that's part of that?
That was, and we discussed it in pretty good depth this last meeting here a couple of weeks ago. That was one of our main topics, was those different options and different funding options that were available.
Because currently all ag land conservation easements are through nonprofits or private. Is that right?
You know, I would, to my knowledge, I think you're right, but I'd have to look into that as well.
You know, no one has ever heard of governments, any entity stepping in for seeing that through, right?
So the state does have the Leroy McAllister.
The Leroy McAllister, thank you. Go ahead, Gary.
However, there was some funding requested for that this year, and that funding was not approved. So the fund exists. It's been kind of difficult to get the legislature to put money into that, at least in recent years. I'm not saying we should quit asking, but it's been a hard thing to get pushed through.
Is it possible, in light of the CARES money coming through?
Yes, it is. We'll take and run with that, Jordan. Thank you.
Okay.
That's a great issue. I think that is worthy of this group, is how we preserve agricultural land in the state of Utah.
So one thing, since we brought up the Leroy McAllister Fund, one bill that was passed this year basically directed that fund to focus on working farmland, where in the past it's funded a lot of open range. We joke that we're good at preserving the top of mountains sometimes, when we ought to be preserving the productive land in the valleys. So they were directed to do that, but there was no funding to actually go with that.
Well, good. I think the Utah County Agricultural Toolbox was I think that was a really good resource that I have tried to push many people towards to draw from, and if there was some funds to back that, I think that we could see a lot more ag land preserved that way.
Do we want to, as a committee, and I ask this as a question, do we want as a committee to have that presentation on the Utah County Preservation Program presented again?
I think we need to resuscitate that. Yeah, I think we
I
should.
think that's worthwhile. Yeah.
Okay, can we put that on a future agenda, Callie?
Yeah, Jordan, did you say it was called the Utah County Ag Toolbox? Is that the official name?
Yes, and you can find it on a website of roughly the same name. And it came, my understanding is it came from Envision Utah 2050.
Okay. So I'll reach out. Is there a specific contact, Jordan, that you know there, or should I? I'm happy to just go to the website and look. I just didn't know if you knew something.
Callie, I'll follow up with you.
Okay.
We've already been visiting with them.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
All right, let's just keep going here for a few more minutes. Anything else? Just go ahead and unmute and speak up an idea. Linda, do you have any ideas? Kelsey, anyone?
This is Gina.
Gina?
We've been working with Senator Escamilla on the formation of the Food Security Task Force. I think it would be a great idea for the chairs to reach out to Senator Escamilla. I know the governor has not made any appointments yet. I think most state agencies are represented, including Department of Ag and Governor's Office of Economic Development. But there are 7 slots to be filled from community groups, and there just seems like there's a lot of overlap on some of the issues that we talk about here in terms of access. So it would be really great to reach out to Senator Escamilla to offer our support or maybe some suggestions for membership. Utahns Against Hunger sent her a list of folks that we thought should be considered. And then I also put as, sort of another group, I included the local food advisory, but it might be nice for us to reach out to her.
I think Mr. Chairman, if I might, I think it might be interesting to contact Senator Escamilla and try to get a report back to our group on what they're deciding on that issue.
Would you be the point person on that, Gene, and send her?
I will do that.
Thank you.
I'll do that, Mr.
Okay,
Chairman.
there you go.
I think Reagan had her hand up also.
I did. I wasn't quite quick enough, but I was just curious if that Utah Ag Toolbox, what is the intended audience? Is it for counties? I ask because I'm on the Uinta County Planning Commission, and I wish I knew a little bit more about this stuff right now.
Jordan, that's a question to you if you're there.
Yeah, it is directed towards counties. And it came from Stephen, Representative Handy's area, I believe, is where some of the ideas were developed. Rights.
I'm trying to. Didn't that come out? That did come out of something in Layton we were working on.
Yeah, I don't recall who it was, but there was something in Layton that was spurring that. At any rate, it would be absolutely beneficial for you to have on the county level.
Thank you. I'm definitely in support of having a presentation on this group. That would be great. Thank you.
Look, Kelsey's holding up a show and tell.
I have documentation, Reagan. I can share it with you. I have extra copies because I remember sitting. It was in our very first local food advisory council meeting that we had Envision Utah come and share this plan. And I have kept this toolkit and have used it for ideas over the years on how we can think about using underused parcels of urban land for gardening, and what can we do for ideas on establishing, maybe the size of homes and communities to think about farmland preservation. And there's just wonderful ideas here that show how you can implement it, examples of how it's worked in communities across the country, and particularly in Utah. So I just remember their stories, and I keep it here in my office for when I meet with people. So it would definitely be worth something to seek out from Envision Utah.
Okay, but you don't have any. Did you say you had extra copies, or you?
I keep them because my students use them.
Okay, okay.
I have extra. Yeah.
I'll try to track one down from Utah, from Envision Utah. Thank you.
Ruby Ward.
Karen Allen was planning on being here, but she had something come up and couldn't make it because Jack had actually called her about the co-packer issue, and then she called me. So I just wanted to say that since we have a little more time to expand on that, expand on issues, one of her big things was she said, we've never really had anybody that devoted some time to really look at what our current state was and what are some of the realities of co-packing in Utah, because our state probably is different. So once you reach a certain size, you're probably going to need to go out of state, but there's a lot, that doesn't mean that we shouldn't have more availability. And right now, I don't think we even know who is actually doing co-packing. Some people are calling it co-packing when they're actually making jam by hand, for a couple of people, just, a few bottles in their house, and they're saying I'm a co-packer. And then other people are doing it, as like larger companies and stuff. And so just like we're doing kind of the food assessment, there may be value in somebody really looking at that, but it probably is on the scale of needing to have fund a graduate student to really make it like a master's thesis or something, to really kind of dive into it and see what's out there.
Great idea.
Super idea. Yeah. All right. Anyone else? We're getting to last call.
Kate Wheeler has a hand up.
Go ahead, Kate.
Hi. I just wanted to put something out there. I know somebody used the phrase "shoot for the moon" earlier, and this is definitely in that category. But while we're brainstorming, I think one of the things that always comes up with Farm to School is that it's just not fully institutionalized across the state, right? And people don't see it as something that Utahns do. And one thing is, I'm the only state agency person that's specifically Farm to School versus some states that have somebody in Department of Ag and Department of Health working with the Department of Ed. So one of the things I would love for us to kind of just look at more is what would it take to have some really broad Farm to School legislation. We tried to get funding for a single thing, but instead looking at what would a Utah Farm to School bill be, and that could potentially, look at more position creation, which I know is a tough sell. Again, this is the issue I'm going to ask. But also, that way, a lot of states that do that, they have, set positions from that also institutionalizes. We have our state Farm to Fork task force that a lot of times that legislation kind of formalizes those state Farm to School networks and provides support to kind of build those out and build that capacity and that strategy there. And then also usually some direct support for producers and direct support to schools. So there's a lot of possibilities we could encompass there, but I would love to just have that idea floating in on the table. And I know that it's a big ask, and it would be a big change and a big push. But if we could even start pushing, you never know what'll happen.
Listen, Kate, we have not, you're bringing up something that, we have tried several things with appropriations. Some of the members don't know this, but we've tried this for years. USBE got kind of cold about it, in the legislature. But if you can find some model type legislation from some other states, Senator Davis and I'd be happy to try it.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a lot of good resources, and there's been a lot this past year, even I think, again, just with that kind of upswell of realization of the importance of school food and food systems this year that a lot of people had in this country. A lot of states more of that. So there's a lot of good examples out there. And then I guess just to tack onto that, I do have some good news to share about local food reimbursement, but it needs to wait till our June meeting.
Okay.
And I would endorse Kate's. That I think that would make a big impact for a lot of different growers, a lot of varied growers. And I if I could take a minute to point out something specific.
Go ahead, Jordan.
That I think I've brought up once before, but and then zoom out and say what else could we work on? By all accounts that I've heard, to do anything through the DABC is like growing a cherry tree, which is a 20-year proposition to move the needle anywhere with the Department of Alcohol. But but if we could, I would point to Utah's apple industry not being the strong as it could be, and this hits on something that we talked with Sterling back with the Farm Bureau about and I can't remember what that was called, where they focused on a specific industry and saw what type of, it was like an incubator of different types of marketing or whatever they could do to help that industry of agriculture. But if we could look at whether or not we could pitch to the DABC that alcohol levels are the same, regardless of what product fermented to that level, and in other parts of the country, a hard cider could be in the grocery store based on its alcohol level. And if we could do that the same, I mean, that could be a real shot in the arm for our local apple industry. So there's that. That's my little pet project. But I also wonder if we couldn't get other people from different industries, like just row crops or the meat or the ranchers, to come in, and maybe we could do some guest presentations. Somebody vet someone in advance to what they feel like are sticking points in their industry, and they could come give a 15-minute presentation to the board.
Mr. Chairman,
please
follow up on Jordan's comments. I think the one thing with DABC, Tiffany Clayson, who is the new director over there, I think she would be very, very amenable to coming to a meeting and having agriculture kind of talk about alcohol and agriculture. The apple industry, for an example, the fruit wine industry, which we have in the state of Utah, and also the grape growers. And it's a whole agricultural area that we really have not had great discussion and movement forward with Utah's own or anything else on. And I think the time may be ripe to be able to have that discussion at one of our future meetings, and invite Tiffany to come over.
Make a note, Callie. Let's do it.
And you said Tiffany, she's with DABC? She's the director?
Tiffany Clayson is the director of DABC.
Yes.
And she's really comes from an entrepreneurial background.
Thank you, Senator Davis.
Thank you.
Anyone else have their hands up?
We had a comment from Hannah Martin from Department of Health about an update on the Fair Park Public Market, if anyone has one.
No.
That may be something we want to look at for a future meeting, or maybe one of our subcommittees, to assign it to one of our subcommittees to be able to discuss that.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good. Okay, I think we're winding down unless anyone has anything else. 20 to 4, we've been going a good time here. Linda, anything to say? We haven't even heard from you today.
I had to do a lot of presentations today, so I feel like I've talked all day.
All right, you're good.
I do have some ideas on the ag preservation and possibly on doing some things with Envision Utah, but I think before I present them, I'd like to talk to the people involved first so that I'm not speaking out of turn. But awesome. I love where this group is going. I am so impressed with all the energy behind it and the things that are getting done. Thanks to everybody.
Thank you, Linda.
Would you, Linda, if you would get in touch with Callie, and if you have that ready, maybe in our June meeting, we can do that presentation. Have you make your presentation.
Well, I've done one today. It was on the meat industry, so I kind of get stuck on that one. But maybe on some of the grant. Well, I'll talk to Callie and we'll see what you guys want, and I'll prepare what you need. I'd be happy to help.
Thank you, Linda.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I think we're done here. Callie, anything that we've missed? Senator Davis, anything that we've missed?
I don't think so. If everybody has got their ideas into the hopper. I think we're ready to move forward. I think we know where we want our subcommittees. And I think maybe with some new interest and everything, maybe we should repopulate or see if there's some movement around some of the subcommittees that people would like to attend.
Yeah, we're going to work with Callie to do that. Awesome.
Great.
Okay.
We'll thank.
Oh, sorry. Just as an agenda item, I did think we should have that a web page for the Food Hub grant that you got the appropriation for, Senator Davis. And so maybe we could just kind of point that out to the group in June. It'll go live on July 1, but it might be good to get the word out through this group.
Okay.
Love it. Great.
Okay. Thanks.
Well, thanks to everyone. This is really exciting. There is a lot of energy here, lots of great accomplishments. I just keep thinking back from where we started to where we are today. And we're doing great things and very, very important things for us in the state of Utah, up and down the line in the agriculture space. So with that,
motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn from Senator Davis. All in favor say aye.
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 Stay healthy, everyone. All the best to everyone. Thanks for what you're doing. Let's keep in touch and have the rest of a good day. We are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.